Hey, here we are. We're going to be installing a set of track-mounted roof racks on this Chrysler Pacifica. It's actually an E-electric hybrid Pacifica. There's no roof rack fit kit available for this van, so we're going to be putting a custom track-mounted system on. We're going to be using the Rhino Rack tracks. Here, these are 168 centimeter long tracks. They come with all the hardware necessary, your blind rivets, Butyl Pads for making sure it's double redundant waterproof. So we're just going to get things sorted out here and get these installed. So we've started by laying the tracks on the roof using some painter's masking tape to get the position of the tracks. On some vehicles, you'll be able to get both the passenger and driver side tracks square, as in the equal distance from that track to this track, both on the front and back of the vehicle. That'll make adjusting the tracks forward and back much easier because your feet will always be at the same width. However, the other trick is you do not want this track too far inboard on the roof. You want it as close to this ditch as possible. This ditch, plastic ditch that's on most vehicles, is where the outer panel and the roof are welded together, strongest part of the roof. And you can see on the roof line too, if I push here, it's very, very strong. If I push here, you'll probably see in the lights. See that flexing in the lights? That's just sheet metal, so that's not strong. So the further this track runs inboard, the less strong it will be, as it's essentially just riveted into the sheet metal. So on this vehicle, we're keeping it in line just on the edge of the ditch. And that's going to make it as strong as possible. And you know, if the customer wants to move their crossbars in a different position, it's still doable. It just takes a little bit more time because you have to adjust the width of the feet as you move the crossbar forward or back. So now that we've got these in place, we've made sure we measured them from the back of the vehicle so that they're both equal distance. They're both the same distance along the ditch. We can now use this as our template, and we'll drill pilot holes in each one of the screws along the track to mark out where we're going to complete our full drilled holes. Okay, so we have removed, well, at first we did all of our pilot drills. So the scary part where you have no point of return, it's actually not that scary. So long as you know you've measured everything and you're in the right spot, it's all good to go. So we've just drilled little tiny pilot holes before we drill the rest of the way. We've removed the tracks. So now we'll drill the holes completely using a drill stop. And point of advice, if you're going to do this, make sure the tracks, when you take them off the vehicle, you put them in the right direction, that they were on the vehicle on the right side. So the front's going to remain on the front, the back's going to remain on the back, and the right and left will remain in the same place. Well, the holes in the tracks should be symmetrical. If they're off even the slightest amount, it's going to make things really difficult for you. So take them off, place them somewhere where you know their orientation so you can put them back on the same way. So we've got our drill, and we're going to make sure to use a drill stop. This is going to make sure the drill bit does not go too far into the vehicle. It's going to have just a little bit exposed. We're going to get a little bit more than that, probably about 3/8 of an inch or so, just enough to get through the sheet metal, and then make sure if there's anything below that, we don't nick it. Wires, airbags, anything like that. All right, there we go. Now have our, less than a fingertips width of drill bit, but just enough to get through, and we'll drill out all those holes in the roof. All right, so we've completely drilled out all of our holes and primed them to prevent any rust. We're now going to add on the little Butyl Pad tapes that come with the kit to help make sure this is a watertight seal when we're all done. So here we've got the pads. These things are a bit of a pain to get on and off because the backing sticks to them pretty well. The big plate is okay, but then when you go to get the little one off the top, you just got to kind of pick at it with your fingernail and get it off. So we'll get all these on and then show you what it's like when they're done. All right, there we go. we have the pads over each one of the holes that we drilled and primed. Basically, these little butyl tape pads stay sticky all the time. And as soon as this track gets on and riveted down, these are gonna squish out and they're gonna seal around that rivet just to make sure that it is as watertight as possible. Now, another thing to note is the rivets that are used. These are called a blind rivet. Basically, what that means is the body is all one piece, unlike a regular rivet. Let's see if I can find a regular rivet. See how the shank that's in the rivet is actually separate from the body as compared to this one? It's all one piece. This one's called a blind rivet. You want to make sure if you happen to drop a rivet, lose a rivet, don't just go to your hardware store, because they will give you a regular rivet like this. That regular rivet is a place for leaking, because essentially the water, once the shank or the mandrel is popped off, water can actually go down the center, through the barrel, and leak through the end here. On a blind rivet, once that mandrel is snapped off, you have a watertight seal because this whole barrel is all one piece. No water is going to get through that. So just a piece of advice there. If you lose a rivet, make sure you get a blind rivet. All right, so the track is in place. I like to start in the center of the track, putting the rivets in place, and I'll secure them, slowly working to the outside edges, which are going to be raised because of the roof. This aluminum bar can flex a little bit, and it will be able to conform to this roof line. There is only so much it will go as far as flexing. Generally, I find these raised portions in your roof, generally if you go as far as they go, that's going to be the part of your roof that is the flattest. If you try and extend your track past these raised ribs, you're going to find it really curves off and you're not going to be able to get that track to sit flush. All right, there you have it. Track installed on this Chrysler Pacifica, the Rhino Rack track. All sleek, in line fairly well with the ditch there. It looks almost factory. Probably wouldn't even notice it for the most part. Yeah, nothing much to fear with these tracks. We do it all the time. Sheet metal installation. As soon as you mention drilling into the roof, especially on a brand new vehicle like this one, people get apprehensive, which is understandable, but holes in your roof are pretty standard. For example, this shark fin antenna back here, this is from the factory. That's going to have at least one, if not a couple of large holes in behind it. And the only thing sealing that is a thin little gasket, generally around it. So these tracks with the blind rivets and the butyl tape, they're watertight. You're not going to have any issues there. It's a really versatile system, even if you have a fit for your vehicle, especially on a van. Vans, you can usually only do a clamp on in these rear doors, and it ends up in a really awkward space on the vehicle, you know, just kind of in the center. Having these tracks gives you a place to really spread out those bars or get them in the position that makes the most sense. So great system. We like them. We do them all the time. Hope this helps if you ever are planning on getting a rack like this installed. Obviously, this is not the full rack, just the track, so we're going to complete the other side. But that should be all the tips we have for you. Thanks for watching.